Actually the first 1 year, it was a very good environment. We had a lot of time, we had work-life balance, but it was only when a crisis came and we were under a lot of scrutiny by external parties, auditors and so on, that things began to change. During that transition, the normal business as usual work was actually on quite a lot of me and my boss. It was a tough time because there was a lot of work, there was a lot of pressure, and we often, if we have to stay back late, we have to. I was given a certain designation, and then as my new teammates joined, I realized then they were a lot younger, and yet they were higher positions and designations than me, even though they didn't have as many years of experience. And I actually told my boss about this. She saw how my colleague and myself worked, and she felt that we were unfairly compensated. They will correct this, and they will correct it in the next promotion cycle. In April, after I came back from my first overseas trip, and I came and saw in the email distribution list that there was a promotion list that came out and my name was not in there, I was concerned, I was puzzled, and I was shocked. I started to think, okay, maybe they have all been lying to me all this time. Was it deliberate, or did my superiors actually didn't want to let me have the promotion? Because I look back, I was always doing well in school and I always worked very hard. And at the end of the day, however, when I went to university, I didn't get a very good grade at the end of it. And sometimes I feel that I have let myself down. And the same for jobs. I've always worked very hard for every single one of my jobs, but yet every time I felt there wasn't any recognition, I would just move on, or I felt that it was no use to stay in the place where I was because I wouldn't get the recognition, or I wouldn't achieve where I want to be. Then I'll move on, and this was the last job that I have, and again it happened. I think it made me feel like very hopeless, like there was everything that I have done in my whole life was coming to naught, and it was pointless. So during one of the worship sessions, I went to God and I was very downtrodden. I was at my wit's end. So I prayed and I committed to God. I asked God, can you just take over from here? I'm very tired. I'm tired of striving and trying to on my own ways. If this is your will, you just take over and help me. And I think at that moment, I didn't really feel immediately, but I felt that I was given permission to rest. I relaxed. I started to let go. As I started to let go, I felt like God was telling me it's all right. Everything is going to be all right, and just rest. And during that time, that was all this bitterness and anger was building up. I was actually manifesting it. I was shouting at my team a lot at the mistakes they made. I was venting my frustrations in the company, in the daily life. I would apologize for what I did, and so that's what happened. I actually called my team together and I talked to them and I apologized for the things that I did, like for shouting at them, for overreacting on some of the mistakes, and I promised to build them up. My boss actually came back later on and she told me that they tried all kinds of means to get me the promotion that they promised me, but it wasn't that they found out something along the way, that actually the company had a policy that you have to work about 3 years before you can get promoted, and my time was not yet up. But at that time, when she told me all this, I actually told her it's not important anymore. I think I realized then that the victory that God intended me to have was not in the promotions, was not in the overseas conference, was not in any increased pay or anything, but rather the victory was overcoming that bitterness and anger, and that was actually more important than anything else in the world. I just think that God's ways are higher than our ways. To me, I thought always that it was all the monetary rewards and man's recognition, but it is not. It is actually a transformation within myself.